what does your body language say about you? What is my body language telling you right now? Is it confrontational? Is it relaxed? Is it chill? Is it intimidating? Is it dominating energy? I don't know what I do. I don't know what my body language says about me. So that's why we're going to look at a body language analyst reacting to Jacksepticeye's impressive nonverbal growth. I just want to reiterate, impressive nonverbal growth. I didn't know I had any body language growth, but I guess we're going to find out why I'm so amazing. We've done a video like this before with sort of like a speech expert reacting to how I've changed and what my sort of vocal language said about me. So this one was recommended to me recently. Actually, it was recommended to me by the channel. I uploaded this video reacting to YouTubers' first videos where I looked at stuff that people have done in the past versus what they are now, and I looked at myself, and this guy reacted to that saying that he saw my growth and how it was impressive from my first video to now. So I thought I'd check it out and saw that he had a video on me talking about all this stuff. So I thought it'd be interesting to sit down and watch it because there's probably a lot of stuff in here that I don't realize that I do. And now he'll say it and then I'll overanalyze myself and get all uncomfortable. But sure, we'll sit into it and see what happens.
Well, hey there, idiots. Welcome back to Observe. And in today's video, we're going to be looking at the body language evolution of Sean McLaughlin, or Jacksepticeye through...
Sean McLaughlin. Well, we're already off to a terrible start. I also don't know how to feel about the fact that I am sitting right above Hitler.
Now, he has spent many, many years on YouTube and uploaded thousands and thousands of videos.
Too many.
And needless to say, he has changed dramatically over the years, and not for the worst.
Interesting. Ooh. I like this intro. Observe.
Now, for those of you who might not know what Sean does, what Jacksepticeye does, he is a gaming commentary channel largely, although he has also now brought in more series to flesh out his channel to being more than just playing games and talking about it, to being able to have commentary on memes, funny videos, so on.
This one, right here, it's not a gaming video. And I actually really enjoy doing them.
Today I'm going to be looking at his body language throughout the annals of time to show you where he has changed and whether or not it's been a good thing or a bad thing. But I think that's enough jibber jabber about this. Let's go ahead and start watching the
jibber jabber. I like that. I like that. Good word. Good usage of the vocal English language. You already kind of gave it away though, because you wrote impressive in all caps in the title. But that's good for me because that means that I don't have to be as nervous watching this and seeing other people react to you and like not judge you, but like critique you and look at you in a critical thinking way. Always kind of makes me like, oh God, what's happening? Am I doing something wrong?
Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Ugh. My name is Jacksepticeye, and in this video, I'm going to talk about horror games.
Ah! God, I've looked at that so many times and it still gets me. It sounds like I chewed up sandpaper. Hello, all you beautiful people out there. Ugh.
Okay, all right, Sean. A really strong start here. So this isn't the first face cam video that he has, but it is one of the first talking head style videos that he has.
True.
So it makes it the best for nonverbal communication reading. And right off the bat, speaking of that nonverbal communication, there's a few things that really leap out to me nonverbally, and that also includes in his tone. So let's talk.
Oh God, really? Oh no. What have I done? I was just trying not to be awkward on camera when I did this.
He's forcing his vocal cords to perform in a way that they're not really grown to do. He doesn't have that raspy of a voice, and it's coming across as very strained. So that hello kind of thing, that is forced, it's fake.
Yep.
And he's also trying to add energy into his voice without it actually matching his nonverbal communication. So this is a common mistake by people who are new to performing on camera, is they will try to perform, but it's very desynchronized. So his voice is pushing energy,
Interesting.
though it does sound very forced, but his face and his body language don't line up. His gestures with his hands are very stilted, and then if you look at his face across the face,
No emotion happening at all. Oh, if you just heard this, you would think that was a completely different face saying it. I never thought about that. My face just looks so deadpan. I look dead behind the eyes. There's no emotion coming across at all. I'm so uncomfortable.
not synchronized whatsoever. The eyes remain emotionless, the eyebrows are doing their own thing.
My eyebrows have always done their own thing. I have no idea how to control these fuckers.
And Jack, or Sean, has gone on video before and said that he was indeed really forcing this, and he was very, very insecure about what he felt like and how he presented himself. He was very insecure of his accent especially. And that makes sense from what we see and what we hear, with his tone being so altered, so strained, so forced, it's masking his accent somewhat, and that's all just based out of insecurity, not only on a personal level, as Sean has said, but also on a performance level. It's just based out of an inability to be comfortable on camera.
Pretty much, yeah. You actually hit the nail so accurately on the head with that. Because I wasn't hiding my accent because I'm ashamed of Irish accents and Irish people or anything like that. Well, maybe there's a tiny bit of shame in there, but it was mainly because anytime I say something, and you've seen it happen whenever I play with other people, specifically American people that I play with, whenever I say a word that is pronounced slightly different, everybody likes to point it out. When I say garage instead of garage, when I say car instead of car, and things like that, people really point it out. And because of that, I wanted to just stay in the flow of energy. I wanted to keep the commentary going. I wanted to keep the flow happening. And I didn't like drawing attention away from what the subject matter of what was actually happening was. And anytime I pronounce stuff like that, people would point it out, and then it just cuts off the like flow of the joke or the energy that's happening, or people in the comments just like to point it out. And when you hear that stuff over and over again, and it happens so many times in a pattern, you end up getting a little insecure about it, and you start pronouncing things differently because you start overanalyzing them in your head. And that's why my accent has kind of vanished over the years. I still say certain things a certain way, obviously, and I still sound Irish, but I sounded so much more Irish back then. And I kind of hate that that's happened. I hate that my accent has changed so much, and I say things instead of things, because I feel like there's so much charm in the Irish accent. I feel like it sounds great. But again, when you hear so many people kind of point out these things, almost like, and they're not doing it maliciously, but in my head, I would like get defensive about them back then. So I guess I just kind of like forced it out of my vocabulary.
But more specifically, what makes a good horror game, and what a horror game should do and what it should not do.
I'm so subdued.
First off, what a horror game should be like.
So
You can
slow.
see on the setting of his eyes, they're lightly drooped on the upper eyelids. Now, Sean's eyes rest this way somewhat anyways, but along with that, you can see that there's just an extra weariness, mini expression showing up.
No, they don't.
And that's a telling mini expression for us. That is his actual emotion. He's not controlling that side of things. It's happening regardless of whether or not he wants it to. Now, as a nonverbal analyst looking at this, that lets me know that he's either extremely exhausted or not very happy. And the chances are it's both. It's probably both at this period. Along with that, because of those two factors, it comes across as less energetic, less passionate, and he almost seems uninterested in the content that he's making himself. And that's just a sign of a very discouraged creator.
Interesting. Wow. I would not have, I mean, again, what he's saying is accurate, but I would not have picked that up about me at all. Like, again, it's not conscious, so you just kind of do it without realizing it. Also, shout out to all my DVDs, Lord of the Rings extended editions right there. I mean, my life wasn't great back then, and I was trying to like do YouTube, and I was putting on a persona, so there's a lot of just overthinking and over forcing things, so nothing comes off as like me. As you can see, obviously, as the growth happened and the change happened, I became much more me and less of this.
I think there are some main points that a horror game should have, and
not are
stuff that it should strive towards to create that sense of real horror. And
all right, and now you can see in his framing in the camera itself, he's very stationary. He kind of just sits very, very still with occasional gestures in his hands, but he's sitting very, very still, very small in the frame. And that's communicating to me yet more insecurity and more worry. And this might be in regards to him talking to a camera. In fact, it likely is partially that, but it could be another bleed over effect from his personal life, his general mindset that he might not be very happy during this time. That's what his body language and his tone is showing me so far.
I feel like I'm getting soul read. This is like when you play Among Us and somebody's like, I can tell what you're up to. And it's like, how did they know? How do you know this stuff about me? I didn't even know this stuff about me at the time. And now when I record videos, I'm like, hey, how's it going? The lads. Because I just don't really care as much about what... I was thinking very heavily about what others were going to think about me at that time. So I'm like, okay, if I'm not overboard and I'm not energetic and I'm not my accent and I give off a version of myself that seems more palatable, then people will like me more. So yeah, very forced.
It still feels like he's trying to work around his personal accent, and that also plays into this insecurity that he has.
Yep.
by the way, my opinion on what horror should be could be completely different than what another guy's definition of horror could be.
The classic in general, pushing away, it's putting distance between the person speaking and whatever negative thing that is being said, be it possible criticism, be it people who are going to be upset that he's saying something about horror games that they don't agree with. So he's saying a personal opinion and he's putting distance between himself.
Oh God, oh, I didn't realize.
It's a very classic and very common tell. Anytime that you see somebody doing this, they're warding off something on some level, be it emotional or even physical at times.
Do I still do that? I feel like I still might actually do that sometimes. Oh, shit. Okay. Let's not do this.
And if you like my stuff,
a little bit of sadness really creeping out in his face.
This looks almost like a parody when you slow it down like that. Who can say where the road goes? Good Lord, it's so, I don't like looking at myself like this, really. Can we talk about the glow up though? Look at me now, compared to then. Bright, vibrant young lad into old Irish dumpster man.
When he's swallowing, he's just preparing. This could be nervousness. A lot of people get a dry mouth when they're talking regularly or for long periods of time, but you can see this flash of sadness. And this makes my heart sad as watching this. He's obviously
got dry mouth now.
Not happy here. He's very unhappy with what he's doing. It still is just saddening to see somebody who's really just having a hard time emotionally and mentally with life.
please subscribe. It helps more than you could ever know, and I'm extremely grateful to anyone who has subscribed to my channel.
Are you? It doesn't show.
I'm flattered that anyone would subscribe to my channel and watch my stuff.
So during this time, he's having a little bit more trouble holding eye contact with the lens. He feels ashamed asking for subscribers at this time. He feels shame in being like, you know, it's really helpful, it does benefit, and it's true, it really does.
I mean, you say that, but I'm staring directly at the camera for this entire section.
Subscribing to his channel was huge. It was so
I'm looking down.
helpful, and it really did benefit him. He's a very large and successful YouTuber now. But at that time, he had that shame. He doesn't have the self-esteem that's really backing those words. He's trying to ask for people's support. And mentally, at this point in his life, from what his nonverbal communication is saying, he doesn't believe he deserves it.
Oh, 100% true. And not only that, but back in those days, this is ages ago, like back then, asking for subscribers was like a huge no-no. Like, back then, brand deals, asking for likes and subs, all of that stuff was considered like, oh, you're a fucking sellout. So it was so much harder to actually ask for those things back then. Nowadays, it's everywhere. Nowadays, you see it all the time, people asking for subs. All right, I'm not looking away from the camera now. Subscribe to the channel. Hit like. Leave a comment if you want. Check me out on Twitter. Maybe Instagram. Wherever you want. Buy my coffee. No shame. But yeah, definitely true. It's very hard to do back then because the fear of being judged heavily was very, very strong.
And that's very unfortunate. That's very sad. That's a tragic thing to see, somebody who's just so down on themselves that even when they're trying to present something as lighthearted as talking about what makes a good horror game, he's still extremely sad.
Bro, I will never give myself credit for anything. Even today. Whenever anybody says anything good about me, I'll just say thanks and move on. But I still have such a hard time believing that any of the stuff that I'm doing is great. And I'll always hype up everybody else first before I'll hype myself up. And I'm trying to get better at it, but it's difficult.
Now we're gonna fast forward in time by about 4 years.
Oh,
and for those of you
green
who
hair?
don't know, Sean used to upload roughly 2 videos a day, every single day. So he's had a lot of videos in between these times. So he's had a lot of practice. There should be a lot of different nonverbal communication. It should be a lot more fluid. Let's see what happens here.
Yes. Oh God, Jesus. Already, I'm a fucking whirlwind. People tend to forget that yeah, there's years in between, and people are like, wow, he changed that much in 3 years. Because there was 2 camps. There was either, oh, the original version is fake, and now this is much more him, or people thought, no, the original version the original version is him, and this is fake because he just learned how to attract a bigger audience by that time. When in reality, it's that this version with the green hair is far, far, far more comfortable being on camera, because I didn't just have 3 years or 4 years in between. I had like 2,000 videos in between. Well, maybe not that much, but I had so many videos in between. That's so much time for you to be able to see yourself on camera, to hear yourself on camera, to judge yourself on camera, to get more comfortable performing. So it was just hours put in where I suddenly was just like, hey, I might as well just be myself. If I'm gonna do anything with my YouTube channel, I might as well be myself. And if it fails then, at least I gave it a try as myself. But if it fails as me putting on a fake personality, then what was the point?
Top of the morning to you ladies, my name
Forgot
is
the sound
Jacksepticeye,
effect.
and I decided to make a vlog because there's some things that I wanted to talk about. I always say that I never want to make a vlog unless I actually have a focal point
Catch your
to
breath.
talk about.
Wow. Okay, we'll talk about a different persona. He has absolutely stepped into more confidence, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know so far in this what his mental state is showing, but he's at least more confident in his performance. That's why he's projecting so much. But you could still hear it. Even though he's projecting, and there's a way to project without sounding strained, he is sounding strained. It's still pushing his vocal cords. This isn't his natural talking timbre. This isn't his normal tone or pitch. It's being pushed, and you can hear that come out in the strain and the pitch of his voice as he's talking at a higher pitch, and it's very loud, it's very projected. But then along with that, his nonverbal communication in general has become a lot more animated. This is the side of things where I was expecting to see as he's developed, he would become more animated. He would learn how to use his hands more, he would move around in frame more, and that has indeed happened. Also, the hair. This has been the biggest thing on Jack's channel for many years, was his green hair. That was his thing. That was his look. Markiplier had red hair and Jack had green hair. That was his thing. So we see that, and it brings back some nostalgia for people who have been watching the channel for a while to see Jack with his bright, vivid, like candy apple green hair.
Yeah, oh man. What I find astonishing is that the green hair has been on the channel for less time than my actual hair color. But people still remember the green hair as like the biggest time on the channel. They tend to exaggerate the length of time that the green hair was on the channel. And I think, I've said this before, that a lot of people don't miss younger Jacksepticeye, or any of the people who say things like that. They don't miss like YouTube back then, or they don't really necessarily miss, green hair Jacksepticeye because he was better. They tend to miss how they felt themselves during that period of time. When you're watching content for, like, a lot of people who missed that time probably watched me a lot back then, and they watched a lot of my content, and there was just so much content coming out that it was easy to just kind of switch off your brain and sit down and just indulge in that content and forget about everything else that was going on in your life. And it's easy to get into sort of a comfort zone with that. So that's why there's such strong nostalgia for that, because you miss how you feel during that period of time. Because I miss certain games. It's the same reason you go back and you play games that you miss from your childhood, and they're just not the same anymore. Because during that period of time, you felt safer and you felt more comfortable, and you just had this like bright-eyed, wide-eyed look at the world. At least for me personally. And that during that period of time, things just felt great. I was enjoying my games, and it didn't matter how long they were, how the music or the graphics or anything like that felt, because I just didn't know any better. So when I go back and play them now, it's very, very different. And I feel like when people go back and watch that, like if I came onto my channel now with that energy and the green hair and did the exact same thing, it just wouldn't feel the same, because it's not during that period of time. And that period of time during YouTube was very iconic because gaming was huge. Our names are out there the most out of most gamers out there. Me, Mark, and Felix were like the big three, the Holy Trinity, as people kept calling us. So our names are just out there all the time. And a lot of people just watch content because it's popular, and not so much for the quality of the content that's within it. A lot of people watch stuff because it's the new popular thing to watch. So when you go back and watch that, there's a strong nostalgia for missing that type of content. Anyway, that's not what this video is about, but as I've grown older and as I've kind of matured past all of this stuff, the more I've begun to understand what was actually happening during those periods of my life. And I'm definitely still so much more myself, but I'm older, I'm more mature, I'm more relaxed, I'm more confident in who I am, and I'm much more mentally stable than I've ever been. So going back and watching this is like, yeah, it's still me, it's just turned up to 11, and it's loud, and I'm not afraid of being obnoxious anymore. But it's definitely still like performative in a way.
So this one, I wanted to talk about the fact that I have an editor on the channel now. I know that that's going to sound very scary to a lot of people.
Robin!
Or a lot of people are going to react negatively to hearing that, because I mentioned it on what was that weird sound that just came out? I mentioned it on some of the two live streams that I did recently. I did one on Twitch.
Okay, so he's emoting more on his face too. This is good to see, but he has some very stilted, nervous gestures. They're almost anxiety driven, to where when he's talking, like you could see him almost straining his muscles while doing things. And then he's fidgeting, doing some classic fidgeting with his hands, and you could see that they're just strained. And it's a little out of frame, so you can't really see it, but you could see just the tops of it here and there. And that indicates that he still has anxiety, and we know that he's forcing the projection of his voice. So with this in mind, that also can lend us towards the direction of him forcing the energy that he's projecting in general. Is it completely forced? No, it's actually not. He has good synchronization in areas, and especially even when he has the weird throat sound as he says it, he laughs and genuine mirth enters his eyes, and so this is
Mirth? The fuck does that mean? Amusement, especially as expressed in laughter. Mirth.
Jack has been making videos for 4 years now and has improved dramatically, although it still has this over-the-top push to it. It still has this strain to it, both non-verbally and tonally as well.
I think that was just the style. That was just my YouTuber style at the time. It was like my personality was a lot more energetic than some of the other people in my personal life, so I just brought that to the table. I'm like, if I'm gonna make a YouTube video, I might as well put on a show. I might as well just like give it my all and go for it and have fun with it. And I think that that's where that energy was coming from. Also really wanting people to like me.
But from what I'm seeing here, this is fairly synchronized, and you can hear that his tone has dropped a little bit. It's a little bit lower of a pitch and a little bit softer of a tone, and that means that he's getting closer to settling. It still sounds like he's almost yelling at you. Almost yelling at you.
Almost yelling at you? I'm absolutely yelling at you. I'm still doing it. That's just the way I am. I'm a very, very loud person in general.
There's been someone helping me edit videos a lot recently.
That clearing of his throat, that's a sign that his vocal cords don't normally function in the way that he's pushing them to function. That need to clear one's throat is built out of strain on the vocal cords. So it's popping up here, just reinforcing that idea that though he seems more comfortable here, it is still a fake persona that he is putting on. And chances are no YouTuber is going to be completely authentic on camera because it's almost impossible to be that way.
I mean, true. Well, I want to go back to that first point. I don't necessarily agree that clearing your throat is a sign that you're straining your vocal cords. I'm sure that happens to some people. I probably just ate something before I went on camera and it was just like phlegming up my throat. You know when you eat like McDonald's chips and then you eat those and then it creates this like fucking ball of like potato in your neck, so you constantly have to all the time. Like I ate just before this and now I can feel it happening again. So I don't necessarily think, I've always just been very good at throwing my voice very far across a room. Like I said, I'm very loud. But that is a good point that even though I try to be as genuine as I possibly can be, even though I'm still trying to be as honest and transparent as I can be, I can't be 100% that. Because you're just never going to know me as an actual person. You're never going to know me as me in my day-to-day life. You guys see me for very, very small fractions every day or every other day, or even back then it was like, even though it was twice a day, you might have felt like you really knew me. You still don't. You don't know any YouTuber. You don't know what they're like in their personal life. You don't know what they're like to other people in their personal life. You don't know what they're like to, like if they go out to a store and people are nice to them at the service counter and things like that. There's a lot of things that go into being a person that you don't tend to genuinely see. And while I do think I'm still very much me off camera and on camera, there are times when I'm more subdued and I'm quieter and I'm just not saying much. And that tends to lead to people thinking that I'm sad or annoyed or upset or tired, which is just not the case. I'm just not making a YouTube video and I'm not performing, so to speak.
This is just a pretty high level of performance. He's really, really adding a persona to his character.
I'm an
entertainer! Come across in a specific way for people. And that actually is based off of a subconscious insecurity. That need and desire to put forth somebody that you're not is based off of insecurity. At this level, just an interesting side note as to what Sean's mindset might be right now.
I mean, not that far off, yeah. Definitely putting out a version of myself that I hope people like, that I'm trying to entertain. I just want people to be happy and laugh and smile. And this is my way of communicating that, I guess.
Is he in a healthier mental state? Absolutely. It's showing that he's in a healthier mental state. But it's still showing insecurity, that he isn't confident enough in himself, in his own personality, to be able to present that to camera. But he instead feels like he has to present this very loud, energetic persona to camera.
I mean, kinda, yeah. There's a lot of people watching. There was a lot of pressure. The channel grew incredibly fast. It was one of the fastest growing channels at one point. And it was definitely one of the most watched gaming channels at the time. So there was a lot of pressure. I was still like mid-20s. I still didn't know who I was. I still didn't know who I wanted to be. I wasn't very confident in myself. Again, still kind of struggle with that even today, but I've gotten a lot better at it. So as time goes on, I just get more and more comfortable in my own skin. And back then it was like, I really hope people like me. Please like me. I want people to like me. I want people to have a good time. I don't want to upset absolutely anybody. And even though I still don't want to upset anybody, I've grown more accustomed to, I'm never going to be able to please everybody. And I think that that's where the growth has happened now. Is he going to watch current stuff?
This next video clip is from here today. This is the most recent video that
this is
has
interesting.
Been uploaded by Jack at this point, and it is another 4 years later. So there have been hundreds and hundreds of videos again, and he has aged. So we should be expecting to see a more mellow, more genuine and synchronized Sean McLaughlin appearing on camera than we have either of the...
You keep pronouncing my name wrong! Also, we're gonna have a beard glow up in these current videos. Oh, this one?
Hey! It's me. I'm back to doing this again. Can you believe it?
Well, okay, this is an interesting dynamic that we have going on here. On one half of things, Sean is showing synchronized body language in his face. It's very continuous throughout the top portion, middle portion, and bottom portion of his face. It's a genuine expression of mirth, at least on some level.
Mirth? We learned what that was today. I learned something today. Full of fucking mirth, bro.
And you can hear him really having a high-pitched, forced tone at the beginning, and then he clears his throat, and it's a humorous thing. But what I'm going to point out non-verbally with him here is that he's doing a very obvious persona here. It's very obvious. It's satirically based persona performance.
Right.
So he knows that this is very hammed up, and he's showing it as such, and that's part of the humor for it. It's simply a different level of humor. Whereas before the persona that he was doing, that's what he wanted to present himself as to camera. This one, he knows that people know he's not that way, so it's a secondary level of humor that he's showing here. But now as he's talking, you could hear his tone has dropped to his conversational tone that we heard earlier. In the video 4 years ago, we heard that tone. That little tiny blip of it, we heard that, and now it's here. That's good to hear, because that means that now we're getting a very genuine Sean McLaughlin. That's exactly what you would like to be able to see in a creator, is a creator who is now so confident in and of themselves that they feel like they're able to put it out for the world to see on camera. That's what I'm getting so far non-verbally. Let's keep watching.
Interesting. Spot on the money, I'd say. It's a lot easier to do weird shit now and realize that I don't have to explain myself, that I can do dumb shit and people will get the joke, that I don't have to over-explain what I'm doing or counteract it and say like, oh, by the way, that was a joke. Sometimes I still have to say that because people don't get Irish humor or sarcasm, and then they're like, did he actually mean that? No. Dumbass! Did he actually mean that? I'd like to think that there's less of a fear of the audience. That I still want to perform, I still want people to be happy, I still want you to laugh and have a good time and entertain the people who have decided to follow me this far into my life and career. But I don't have to please you every single moment. That I'm not afraid of what people are gonna think. And I'm not afraid of, I mean, that first clip is sort of a bad example of what I'm trying to say right now, but it definitely permeates me, I think, a bit more, that I'm not terrified of what people are going to say and think and do, because I should just trust in the fact that I know I'm a good person, I know I'm a decent person, and that whatever other people say about me shouldn't matter. And that is a lot of like going through like touring was a big one for me, because having the audience then and there and having them all there in front of you and saying things and seeing the direct reaction to what you're saying, instead of uploading a video, waiting for the reaction in the comments, having that be non-vocalized, it's all text-based, and then being able to interpret that however I want. That can fuck you up. That should not be your main source of feedback all the time, because you can't directly read what people's emotions are as they write that. Some of it will come across as overly attacking, and then I got overly defensive about it. And then going on tour and seeing people's actual genuine emotions in the crowd did a lot for me, because I was able to read the room. And I'm much better at that. I'm very good at blending into environments and adapting to other people's body language and behavior and matching that level and energy. But also there was a bit of banter when I was in live shows, that people would say stuff and I'd be able to like clap back at them and kind of roast them a little bit. And everybody was kind of in on the joke and you didn't have to worry about, because we were all in this like safe, comfortable, humorous space. So that helped me a lot when I came back from that, to understand that like, oh, I can do this in my videos as well. And it taught me a lot. But the other thing that helped me a lot in my career was the break that I took last year, and getting into Stoicism a lot. I got into Stoicism from Felix, and some books that we got into and some books that he recommended. One in particular was How to Think Like a Roman Emperor, which was based on the Marcus Aurelius Meditations. And it was an audiobook that I listened to, and it taught me so much about myself and other people. And it's a lot of it is stuff that I knew already, like you can't control other people, and That thing about like insanity, like some people will do the same thing over and over again and expect different results, and me expecting different results out of other people is my insanity. Things like that. It taught me a lot. And I've taken those things with me since then, and it matured me mentally so much more than trying to figure things out on my own. So I highly recommend that book, because it definitely helped me a lot. It might not help everybody, but it helped me understand people and the way I am, and that everything I do should not be trying to please every single person all the time. And I don't know if that's come across in my videos. I guess it does if he's reacting to it that way, but I'm rambling too much. Let's watch the rest of this.
It's been so long since we've had a funniest home videos. Did you miss it? Everybody keeps telling me they did.
I'm going over here now.
You all thought I forgot?
What if that's how I did all of my nonverbal reads?
Please do
Would
it.
Anybody take me serious? What if I decided that one of the days I was gonna flip my chair around and just kind of koala onto the back of the chair?
Please do it.
And talk to you the entire time as the chair just kind of shifts and rotates whichever direction. I don't know. I think that would be a very very humorous, skit, but I don't think it would really do a lot of good for any credibility.
Are you saying that I have no credibility? Is that what you're getting at? Okay, I get it.
And it's coming across as him being genuine, but genuinely goofing around. That's the way that his body language is communicating, and I know that people, just any viewer, can actually draw that out now. They can see that he's just hamming it up for the camera for the sake of hamming it up for the camera, not to try to trick anybody, but just to have a good time. It's really good to see.
That I didn't ever imagine about doing another funniest home videos? You thought... You actually thought that I did forgot about funniest home videos. One of the most successful series on the channel.
His face
What am I doing?
desynchronized right now. It's fully desynchronized. His eyebrows are doing their own thing, his eyes are doing their own thing, and his mouth is doing its own thing, and it's not coming across as false to us. And the interesting thing is that under different circumstances, it would come across as false to us. But we, as the viewer, understand that this is satire. So we can see that while he's forcing stuff, and it's obviously not genuine, he's still being genuine underneath that. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I'm sure it makes sense to a lot of you, but that's what I'm able to withdraw non-verbally as well.
I mean, it makes sense to me, because that is what's happening. The stuff that I'm saying is just nonsense. And my face is like trying to just represent that I'm thinking, but it's all like, obviously like planned improv kind of shit. This is an actual, like, regular size bottle I've just shrunk. But it's back, baby! Funniest home videos!
Okay, looking at his eyes here, they're being animated now. They're not frozen the entire time. He's emoting with his eyes. And even now where he says, but it's back, baby, you can see it lightly creep into some of the areas around your eyes that you can't consciously control very easily. Some people can control it closely enough to where it can come across as genuine, but there are some levels of subconscious movement that we cannot control, and that's leaking out on some levels.
Yeah, and I learned that that's called a Ducane Smile, or Duchenne Smile. I don't know how you actually pronounce it. That when people smile and your eyes crinkle up, like that's an actual, I had to look at myself to be like, oh God, am I representing this horribly? Like my actual smile, my eyes like crinkle, because that's like a proper genuine smile, apparently. And you can tell that some people do that. They try and smile wide, but their eyes betray them. They're like, so their eyes are like dead, but their mouth says a completely different story. So the top half of their face doesn't match the bottom half. And again, I didn't do any of this thing consciously. I wasn't like, oh, I need to learn how to smile like that. It's just having fun. And then when you're having fun and actually enjoying yourself, your eyes light up as well.
About 40% of people that watch the channel aren't even subscribed. They're freeloading moochers. They're sitting around
So if you hear his accent, I did a cut there. That was at the beginning, and then we faded over to where he started talking about the demographic stuff, and you can hear that his Irish accent is now a lot stronger than it was earlier on. And the reason for that is because he spent an entire video one listening to somebody else who had an Irish accent, and people who have an accent and then spend time around or listen to somebody who has the same accent, their accent will strengthen.
Because I do that, and I'm like a parrot of what other people do. Like because I like doing voices and impressions and just imitating people and sounds and everything my entire life, I just take on whatever's around me all the time. I'm like an accent sponge, a social chameleon, as they would say. We've got a new overlord today, and his name is Ronnie.
All right, so there is 8 years of Jacksepticeye's body language, and boy, what a journey that was. At the very beginning, we got to see a very young and emotionally downtrodden person. He wasn't happy, he wasn't confident, and it showed. It showed very clearly to some, and maybe not as clearly to others, but his nonverbal communication, his tone, his performance in general really showed his anxiety and his low self-esteem at the time, and it was very disheartening to see. And then fast forward 4 years, and you still have the same anxiety and low self-esteem, but masked under a much more loud and rich persona, a rich performance that he pulled off quite well at his time. Be it your taste or not, it was well done by him. And then
he makes it sound like I was an actor playing Jacksepticeye constantly. I wouldn't go that far as to say that. There was definitely still a lot of like self-esteem and self-confidence and anxiety issues going on, but I was genuinely having fun, and I was genuinely much more myself, and I liked recording videos, and I really, really loved performing and entertaining for people at home and making them happy and seeing the comments each and every day and how much it was like putting smiles on people's faces and keeping them entertained as they were like bored at home or coming home from school and things like that. It genuinely made me very happy. Still does.
He's presenting genuine him with maybe a little bit of just camera performance that has to be there, but it's him. And that's why people who subscribe to Sean today might not really see the development that happened in his life.
Right.
The change, the maturing, just the self-confidence that really came into fruition in his life throughout time. And it's really, really good to see. I have to say that so far, Sean's development as a creator has been the most heartening to watch.
Oh.
To go from somebody just so sad to somebody who's just confident in who they are and what they're doing.
That's really sweet. Oh, I feel all good now. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. It took a lot of fucking hard work and a lot of time to get to where we are now. And maybe a lot of that is just age as well. Being the old 31-year-old man that I am. But also, I just learned a lot about myself and learned a lot about people and who I am and, you know, things like that over the years. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out who I was and who I wanted to be more specifically going forward and what was more important to me in life. And especially at the start of this year with certain things that have happened, trying to figure out what I want out of my life going forward. And back then, green hair and all that, it was like the rat race of YouTube, like, oh, so many people are watching and subscribers, views, and uploading every day and make sure that you keep on top of everything and make sure that your career is booming. It's like, I've ridden that massive wave and I feel like I've had fun with that, but I feel like that's just not what I need to be doing all the time anymore. Like, I can pump the brakes a little bit and sit back and enjoy things a little more and not upload twice a day every day and not even every day anymore, and just be myself and be happy and realize that there's more important things in my life than just uploading videos. And especially there's more important things in my life than Jacksepticeye and working. That I get a little sad watching so many YouTubers out there who are just working all the time. And not only working all the time, but hyping up the amount of work they're doing and talking about how much work they're putting in and having to sort of validate themselves by the amount of work that they're doing. That somehow sounds impressive, but it's just not healthy sounding to me. Whenever I see that, I'm like, what's really going on? What are you running from, huh? So I want to get across to people that I like showing this aspect of me and my growth and being honest about it, rather than kind of hiding all this stuff away and shooing it under the rug and being like, no, I've had no problems. I'm amazing all the time, because I'm not. And I never have been. And I like being able to show off that it's okay to like relax and just, it's very easy to fall into that trap of people telling you that you're irrelevant or you're falling off or you're not as good as you used to be and all those things. And that can be very triggering for a lot of people. And for me, it was as well. But to try and like get past that and realize you do not have to impress other people as long as you're happy with who you are as a person yourself. Anyway, that was an interesting video to watch. I'm glad I watched it and I'm glad that it was made. And I think a couple of years ago, I would have had a lot of trouble watching a video like this and hearing stuff about myself that was on the more critical end. But yeah, very, very good video. Go subscribe to Observe. They have 350k subs. Pretty damn impressive. And they have a lot of videos on a lot of different people. So if you're into this kind of thing and you want to see more of it, go subscribe to them. Shout out to them. Because I had a lot of interesting thoughts during this. So I hope that you guys enjoyed it as well. Anyway, I can't wait to move forward and have everybody overanalyze every single movement that I do in my videos now and claim that they're observational body language experts in all my videos going forward. It's going to be really fun. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in whatever video comes after this one next time.